But first, let's check in with the leader of the free world, the president, who secured more votes than any other in history. Here he is talking about his Veep, Kamala Harris.
You elected the highest ranking black Indian with Indian background woman in American history to be vice president.
I don't know. Is there a ranking system now for Indians? That's what he said. Here are the president's precise words. You elected the highest ranking black Indian with Indian background woman in American history to be vice president. Now, I'm not aware of this ranking system for black Indians with Indian background, which seems to exist in Joe's head, but the vice president was in this week used to good effect by the White House. We've all seen clips of Biden regularly looking dazed and confused coming off stage. We've even seen a giant bunny act as his handler, ordering him to move along when asked tricky questions about Afghanistan, you know, questions like, why did you abandon Americans there? But this week, it wasn't a bunny. As President Biden put it, it was a highest-ranking black Indian of Indian background who stepped in to stop Joe wandering aimlessly after an appearance. Take it away, Nurse Kamala. Who knows? Perhaps it was Kamala in that bunny suit all along. And James will bring us more Kamala and Joe hijinks later in the program. Now, we know that the Albanese government is forging ahead with its national electric vehicle strategy, where they try to force uptake of EVs in Australia, which Australians have thus far rejected. But Chris Bowen, and geez, hasn't he been a raging success in every portfolio over the years? Well, Chris Bowen says EVs are the future. And if that's true, then let's have a look at how they're made. Right now, we know very little about little things like the lifespan and cost of the EV batteries. We do know that components of the batteries and how they're derived, think small African children in unsafe mines. And then there's the inconvenient fact that EVs are largely powered by fossil fuels. Even a small increase in the number of EV vehicles can put pressure on the grid, let alone the enormous surge predicted by emission-obsessed politicians that populate our government at the moment. Now, California serves as a warning of what can happen when far-left policies are implemented without much thought of the unintended consequences. Shortly after Governor Gavin Newsom proudly spruiked that California would become the first state to ban new petrol car sales by 2035, his government was forced to issue a warning to EV owners not to charge their cars due to pressure on the electricity grid during a heatwave. Those two announcements were within a few days of each other. In the UK, surging electricity prices mean that running an electric vehicle, particularly over longer distances, is expected to be more expensive than petrol equivalents. And that's before you factor in the higher purchase price of electric vehicle options. The cost of EVs is one thing, but another factor that must be considered is the lifespan. The EV batteries, the ones filled with metals such as lithium and cobalt, and by the way, the overwhelming majority of the latter comes from the Democratic Republic of the Congo, where tiny children breathe fumes that lead to fatal lung ailments. Well, these batteries typically have an 8 to 10 year guarantee. The question is, what happens after that? What if you need to replace the battery in your electric vehicle? The cost is so high that many car makers will not reveal this crucial data. This is something News Corp's national motoring editor found out when he asked 10 manufacturers the cost of replacement batteries. Only 2 were forthcoming, with Lexus revealing it'll cost $43,476 plus GST to replace the battery of the UX electric SUV, while Nissan charges $9,990 plus labour to replace the battery in the Leaf EV. They've got a car called the Leaf, isn't that adorable? But just as importantly as all that is the cold, hard fact that more than 70% of Australia's electricity mix comes from fossil fuels. That's the government's own data. Until we have an electricity grid backed by nuclear power, Any notion of saving the planet via electric vehicles is delusional.